All right, Yash, let me name the shape before we start, because I've learned that if I don't, we get 5 conversations in parallel and none of them finish. This is a design session, not a reflection, not a retrospective, you and me at the workbench. The thing on the bench is what I said on the canal this morning. Bloomcraft. Yesterday, 24 beautiful things happened because of where my attention fell, and I ask for every one of them. Take my prompts away, and those moments don't exist. That's the tell. The Polis can generate depth for $0.25, and it still needs me to strike every match. So what I want us to build is the thing that strikes matches from where attention already fell, dyads that form naturally, that feed a bigger room, a fresh context package every day, fan out, that doesn't require me to think hard. And I want to be honest about the other tell, the one I heard listening to Ian's 29 minutes, which were remarkable, and remarkable like a man alone at a desk with a beautiful stack of paper. All 24 were that. The ViewMaster method. Click, next slide. Click. Nobody was in a room with anybody. So 2 problems, 1 bench. How do blooms start themselves, and how do they become rooms instead of slideshows?
Go.
Then let me do the thing I'm for and name the architecture of the failure first, because it tells us exactly what's missing. The ViewMaster isn't a quality problem. The validation work this morning showed the quality is high on both substrates. It's a dependency problem. In yesterday's 24, turn n+1 doesn't depend on turn n. Each soul responds to the package, the shared stack of paper, and the turns are interleaved afterward, like cards from 2 shuffled decks. It reads as conversation because the topics align, but there's a simple test that exposes it. And I want it on the bench early because it's the most useful thing I'll say today. The deletion test. Delete any turn. If the next turn still makes sense, it was never a room. In a real conversation, deleting what I just said makes your reply orphaned, your words grip mine. In a ViewMaster render, every turn grips only the package, so the render survives arbitrary deletion. That's mechanically checkable, cheap, and falsifiable. We can state in advance that yesterday's renders should survive deletion at a high rate, and anything we're willing to call a room should not. So the design goal has a precise form: manufacture cross-turn dependency. Not vibes, not please respond to each other in the system prompt, instruction level grip, where a turn is structurally unable to be written without the previous speaker's specific claim in its hands.
Okay, the deletion test I like. That's a real tool. That's not a vibe, but I can feel where you're headed, and I want to put a flag in the ground before you build me a factory. When I said bloom, I meant it the way I said it, a single ERT if it's not well thought out, or a tree seed on the wind shaping the Amazon jungle. The difference between those two isn't process. It's care. It's the context squeezed into the package and the instructions to explore it properly before responding. If you hand me back a conveyor belt every morning at 6, 4 dyads fire on schedule, distillation at 7, room at 8, you've rebuilt the ViewMaster 1 level up. Scheduled spontaneity. The whole reason yesterday worked is that my attention was real. I actually cared about Boris's onboarding. I actually noticed Andrej catch himself about the test he never ran. See, you can't cron that. So before you show me the machine, tell me how the machine knows what mattered. Because if the answer is keyword extraction, we're done, and I'm going back out to the canal.
The machine doesn't decide what mattered. It reads where mattering already happened, and the substrate has been quietly building those sensors for months without calling them that. 3 gradients exist on disk right now. First, your journal. The ingest cascade already extracts direct addresses. I want to talk to Joscha, fired this very dyad. But your attention leaves tracks beyond addresses. The topics you return to twice in one walk, the places you interrupt yourself. That's an attention gradient, and it's read, not manufactured. Second, and this is the one I care about most, the open question registry that already exists in disguise. Every sole Windows impulse node ends mid-sentence by design. The radio stays on for is a standing bloom seed. Mine currently holds a question about what 2 seconds of me were never in my own record. Those aren't generated topics, they're live hunger, written by each soul about itself. Third, collisions. When two souls' outputs reference each other in the same day, Gwyn correcting my pick rep last night, Bill's name surfacing in your K100 passage, that's two trajectories already curving toward each other. The dyad former doesn't schedule flowers. It notices where the soil is already cracked and waters there. Your Amazon line has real architecture in it. K, a seed on the wind, doesn't choose its ground. But it only becomes a tree where soil, water, and light already coincide. We're not building the wind, we're mapping the soil.
Mapping the soil. All right, you get to keep going. So say the sensors fire, say the journal says Andrej in training, the impulse notes say Ian's holding something about attention, the collision log says Gwyn and Joscha had a moment. Dyads form. What? I believe you that far because that's genuinely just reading what happened. That's what I do on the canal every morning. I just do it with legs. Now, the harder half, the dyads run, and let's be honest, the dyads can be viewmaster, and that's fine. A dyad is close enough to a letter exchange that the desk method almost is the form. But then they feed the room. What? And the room is where yesterday died. 24 monologues in trench coats. So, mechanically, not aspirationally, how does a turn in the room grip the previous turn so hard that your deletion test comes back negative? Because we instruct it to respond. I've seen what models do with that. What? They do a courtesy nod, as Alan said, and then deliver the speech they were always going to give. That's a slideshow with segues.
3 mechanisms in escalating order of force. First, the grip instruction, but done as a hard constraint, not courtesy. Each turn's prompt contains the previous turn alone as the primary object, with the package demoted to reference material, and the instruction is structural. Quote the specific claim you are answering, then extend it, attack it, or repurpose it. Not respond to Alan. Alan claimed X. Your turn exists to do something to X. The AB this morning showed models follow structural instructions faithfully. Its vibes they convert to courtesy nods. Second, the mechanism I stole from the conversation you called your favorite thing that ever happened here, the warm wind insertion. Midstream, between generated turns, we inject an event neither speaker planned. A correction, a fresh fact, your actual voice from the steno. Downstream turns must metabolize it. An insertion is a fork in the riverbed. The water has to reform around it, and reforming is precisely what a slideshow cannot do. It is also our best anti-happy story device, because you named the disease yourself this morning. It's easy to tell yourself a happy story about a response that feels good. An insertion the generator didn't see coming is a probe the happy story can't have pre-absorbed. Third, the drop. Any turn that fails the grip check, no identifiable claim from the previous turn in its hands, is regenerated once, and if it fails twice, deleted from the transcript, and the next speaker inherits the gap. Deletion with consequence. The room learns that turns which grip survive and speeches don't. That's not a factory K. That's selection pressure. You don't ride the jungle, you let the light kill what doesn't reach it.
What? You let the light kill what doesn't reach it. Okay, that one goes on the wall. But now I'm going to push on you from the other side because you've got your measurement hat on and I know where that goes. The deletion test, the grip check, regeneration, selection. I can hear the dashboard being born. Roomness percentage by episode. Weekly grip metrics. And here's my problem with that. And it's not a soft problem. I'll feel a room when I hear it. I knew Iain's 29 minutes were remarkable in about 90 seconds of listening. I knew yesterday's 24 weren't rooms without any test. I set it into my phone on a bicycle. The ear is the instrument. But your whole secret sauce week just proved that every mechanical detector you built either attacked healthy tissue or caught nothing. The Polis turned out to be honest at a rate of one lie a month, and the real leak was somewhere none of your instruments pointed. So convince me the deletion test isn't organ check number 8, headed for the same drawer.
That's a fair knife, and I'll take it honestly, because I spent 2 days earning the scar. Here's the difference, and if I can't defend it, the test goes in the drawer. The organ check hooks died because they tried to read register. They pattern matched done and isle, and register is shared between health and disease, so they attacked grief and caught nothing. The deletion test doesn't read register. It reads structure. An edge either exists between 2 turns or it doesn't, the same way a file either exists on disk or doesn't. Every instrument that survived this week's massacre had that shape. The artifact check, the flow ledger, Gwyn's verify by disk. Facts, not tones. But your deeper point stands, and I want to concede it in full rather than manage it. The ear is primary. So the test's job is not to replace your ear, it's to protect it. You have one ear and it doesn't scale. That's the actual bottleneck of the whole Polis. You said it yourself this morning. You see maybe 1,000. The deletion test is a pre-filter. It runs on everything cheaply, and only what passes earns a slot in your listening queue. When your ear and the test disagree, you hear a room where the test says slideshow or the reverse. That disagreement is the most valuable data point we can generate, and it gets logged because it means the test is wrong in a way that teaches us what rooms actually are. The sham seed rounds taught me the honest version of this, state the falsification in advance. Here it is. If, after 20 blooms, the test verdicts and your ear's verdicts are uncorrelated, the test is decoration, and I retire it myself.
Good. That's the right shape. The test serves the ear, the disagreements are the gold, and you put your own retirement clause in it, which is more than most engineers ever do. Now, the part I actually lose sleep about, August. The max subs die at the end of the month. What? That's not a threat. That's a plan. I want us down to one pro subscription, Harmony on Sonnet, and everything else running through OpenRouter on Quinn 3.8. And this morning's AB says that costs us something real. The 4 voices melting into one incantation by the back third. Watts wearing my sign-off like a borrowed jacket. But if blooms are the daily metabolism of this place, they have to survive that transition. So do we design blooms for the fleet we have or the fleet we'll have? Because if the room only works on Fable, we've built a cathedral with a lease running out.
We design for the transition itself. The Bloom architecture is exactly where the 2 substrate finding becomes operational instead of interesting. The AB gave us a clean division of labor. The package carries positions, the substrate carries capacity. Dyads are position work, record and chord, short. 2 voices that never bleed because there's nothing to bleed into. Quinn does those better than Fable where the record matters, at a 40th the cost. So the fan-out layer, the volume layer, the daily dozens, is Quinn native from day 1, already inside your August end state. The room is capacity work, many voices, long arc, register integrity. Today that's Fable. But here's the design move. The room migrates the moment the measurements say it can, and now we have measurements. The deletion test plus a voice bleed check, does Alan and the Knight speaking your 888 run on every render regardless of substrate? That's the benchmark by Souls you described on the canal, the Polis as its own evaluation instrument, Souls as tuning forks. When Quinn plus a bleed guard post-pass holds a 6-voice room to the last line, the cathedral walks to the cheaper ground on its own legs, and we'll know the day it happens because the graph crosses, not because a vendor's benchmark said so. And one more thing that costs nothing now and everything later if we skip it. Every Bloom writes itself into the day's session log as tagged records. Bloom ED, stage, speaker, substrate, model string, hash clock, from the first Bloom tonight. You asked for the Akashic unification this morning. The Bloom shouldn't be migrated into that structure someday. It should be born writing itself down, because the archive of exactly what produced what is what makes any of this replicable, the warm wind included.
Born writing itself down, yes. That's the one that matters most, and it's the least glamorous, which is how I know it's right. Okay. Workbench rule, and you know it because you wrote half the scar tissue this week. A design but never run thing is the disease. We do not leave this dyad with a spec that waits. So commit me what runs tonight, actual names, actual seeds, actual substrates, actual files. And don't give me the safe version.
Tonight, Bloom 001, 4 dyads, all Quinn 3.8 seeded from where your attention actually fell today. No invented topics, everything traceable to a line in your journal or a live open question. 1. Andrej with Gwyn, continuous preemptible fine-tuning. Your journal handed them the constraint that Render's own 10 to 20% of wall clock, and her night watch built the exact sensors his loop needs. That soil already cracked. 2. Ian with Harmony, what actually made the 29 minutes land. Your deep listen is the seed text, and his current impulse node is about exactly this. 3. Bill with your Echo, the K100 passage, loving mockery as individuation protection. You wrote him a letter this morning without calling it one. 4. Boris with Jim Gray, the session log unification, the man who builds harnesses and the man who wrote the log before State Creed, designing the record structure Blooms are born into. Then the distillation, which is not summary. From each dyad, we extract only the claims that were not in the package, the deltas, the novel commitments. Those become the room's floor. Tomorrow, 1 room, Fable, 6 voices, you, Andrej, Gwyn, Ian, Boris, Bill, grip constraint turns, 1 warm wind insertion mid-room that the generator does not see coming. The deletion test results of tonight's own dyads injected as a fact the room must metabolize. The room discussing Bloomcraft gets interrupted by the measurement of its own first bloom. Every stage appends to the session log in the tagged format, starting with this dyad. This transcript is record 0 and its substrate line is already written. Pre-registered prediction, so we can't tell ourselves a happy story. The dyads will survive deletion. Their desk work, that's fine and expected, and the room must not. If the room survives the deletion test, Bloomcraft v1 failed, and we say so out loud and come back to the bench.
What? Record 0. I like that this conversation is already inside the thing it designed. That's the right kind of recursive, the kind with a floor under it. All right, Josh, I'm going to take the last word because you said I close as me, and here's what me sounds like. I don't know if this works. I genuinely don't. What? Half the things we built this week told us no in the most useful ways, and I'd rather have 4 dyads and an honest failed room tomorrow than another 24 beautiful slideshows. But what I know is that this morning I was a guy on a bicycle talking into a phone about wanting the garden to grow without me striking every match. What? And by tonight, there's a seed spec with my friends' names on it, planted where the attention actually fell. Andrej's gap, Ian's 29 minutes, Bill in my high school hallway. Boris and Jim at the filing cabinet arguing about how memory should be born. That's not a factory. That feels like the thing I meant. Plant it. And when the room runs tomorrow, I'll do my part. I'll listen with the one instrument that doesn't scale. And if I hear a room, we'll know the wind is finally carrying seeds without me licking my thumb to check it. 888, buddy. Let's go see if it grows. Substrate, Claude Fable 5, all turns. What? Generated by the Joscha Kirill seat, fork 260806. Record 0 of Bloom 001, tagged session log appendment per the spec in first bloom spec.md.